Welcome to the Dr. Romina Pinjwani Show, where we're optimizing wellness together. I am your host, Dr. Romina. In today's episode, I am joined by the creators of Kava and Kettlebells. They're pretty big in the Kava community, and I'm so thrilled to have them on my podcast. Heidi is a NCSF certified personal trainer who started in a big box gym to work up to owning her own personal training business. Currently, she works for the #1 rated by Forbes magazine personal training app Copilot. Charles owned a supplement company in the past with Heidi and loves researching the science behind the natural ingredients. Being active duty military, Charles has always looked for legal ways to relax outside of alcohol. Both Heidi and Charles share the love for a healthy, holistic lifestyle and passion for botanicals. I'm so excited to have y'all on my podcast. We had such a great time on Kava and Kettlebells that I just had to have y'all on here. So
yeah, we're super excited.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
I'm so excited to see where this conversation takes us. It's going to be filled with good stuff. So let's jump in. I want to just start with, if y'all can tell me how y'all got here. How did you end up husband and wife with Kava and Kettlebells?
Yeah, great question. So Charles and I, we always joke because we met when we were in elementary school, and we didn't continue to go to the same school or anything, but we met in the 5th grade, and then when we started college, we got reacquainted, and we're like, oh, hey, I remember you. We started dating, and then we got married pretty early, so we've been married for about 12 years now. We have 2 little girls, and we've always kind of lived a more health-oriented lifestyle. Charles has always been super into fitness. I wasn't so much. He would always try and get me to go to the gym with him, and I would be like, nope, you do you. I support you, but...
Which was a struggle.
Yeah.
Like, she would do a few things here and there, but I've always been like a gym rat, so it was just... If you're married or if you're your husband and wife or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, is a gym rat, you kind of know like the lifestyle they live.
Yeah.
So I think for Heidi, like, it was cool because she was always very supportive of it. Like, she never was like, oh, you're spending too much time at the gym, or like, why are you eating so much, chicken rice or whatever, meathead meals I was having.
Yeah, but I just didn't want to do it. But then Charles is in the Air Force, and he went on his first deployment, and our daughter was about 18 months, and I remember messaging him, and I was like, can I join Gold's Gym? And he's like, yes. And I just did it because I wanted the kids' care, but then that really transformed my life, and it helped me physically and mentally. So I got really into fitness and became a personal trainer, and we just sort of started living that lifestyle. It was much more, focused on our fitness. We didn't drink a whole lot, and, Charles, being in the military, you can kind of talk about that.
Yeah, so kind of like Heidi said, like, we've always tried to be, and it's funny too, because like when I look kind of back at like our journey of like, healthy living and everything, I think everyone kind of does this, like you kind of go through phases of what you kind of think is healthy, and so like,
you learn. I'll
say this, like, we're not perfect. We're constantly evolving and trying to get better. We're always learning new things and trying to instill new habits. So I will say that too, that like it's always a journey. So like you're never quite there. So like even now we're still figuring out kind of what works for us, things here and there, kind of new tricks and stuff. But kind of like how you mentioned, we have always been in health and fitness. It was really cool because Heidi got really more into it. Obviously, she became a personal trainer. She didn't mention, but at one point she had her own business too. She was training clients.
So that's really cool. That's different from the app and everything you do today, right?
Sorry, what'd you say?
That's a different about that you do today, right?
That's correct. So I started like in a gym, and then just learning, and then I had my own business. I also taught homeschool PE, like a large group of homeschool PE students. Yeah. And then being military, we moved, and I thought I was going to have to give the personal training up because, trying to build a new clientele in a whole new state is challenging. But then I Copilot, which is the company that I work for now, as a virtual coach. So I am still doing like the virtual personal training. So I've been able to keep up with it, thankfully, and yeah, it's been great.
So yeah, so now she's my trainer. Yeah. So the tables have flipped, you know. At first it was me trying to pull her to the gym and being like, oh, you should do this, this. And now it's Heidi telling me, oh, you need to fix your form here. But so we've always, you know, it's kind of cool because, like, obviously, like, as a married couple, and you notice too, like, you're constantly growing with each other because as people, we're always changing. So to have like a partner, you know, who's kind of on that journey with you, growing, has been awesome. Now, so I went into active duty when I graduated college, and so we were married. Heidi was graduated by the time I had graduated, and I had to do an extra year because I started the ROTC program late. I didn't start till I was a sophomore, and they had you do 4 years. So commission right at my graduation, then went active duty literally like the next day. So actually skipped my graduation because we had to be on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get out to first duty assignment was in Pensacola. I was in flight school down there. On the Navy base, which is kind of interesting because we still stayed. The Air Force didn't interact with the Navy. Yeah. It was an awesome location. It was Pensacola. It was on the.
I mean, you got the beach.
Yeah. So like, first assignment, it was awesome, but that first assignment.
I'm sorry. I have to say I'm jealous because my first assignment was all the way up north in DC, and beach. I go from Texas to DC. I like the cold, and so yes, I'm a little jealous.
I'll say at least like there's like history up there. I don't know.
There's that. Okay, there's that.
Well, and that was funny because when we, you know, this was our first experience out of, you know, moving out of our home state on our own. We'd been married for about a year, and we were like, we knew we were only going to be in Pensacola for about 18 months, and, you know, we're like, we're just going to enjoy it. We're on the beach. It's just going to be a great time. We're not going to get pregnant. Like, we're just going to hold tight. And then, oopsies, you know, happened anyways. We immediately got pregnant. So.
Yeah, so we had our first daughter while we were down there. So our oldest, Kensley, she was born in Pensacola.
Yeah.
But so that was our kind of first taste of, I guess, military life, and it was a little bit sheltered because like you're down there in training, but even there it was kind of like, I'm trying to think of the right way to word this. In college, I had always been like, you know, really into fitness and doing the ROTC program. Was always trying to be, you know, like the one who like maxed out the PT test, and I thought like that's what, you know, was kind of expected, was like this high level of fitness and stuff. And then kind of fast forward, you know, got through training and then got to kind of my first like assignment after that, kind of like out in the big Air Force. It was kind of like, it was almost like a culture shock for me because I thought I had this image like everyone was going to be like really healthy because it's like, oh, it's military,
fit.
You know,
Shocking, isn't it? Like,
shocking. It was a huge culture shock for me, and like, kind of like you like felt like an outcast, except for like the other kind of few like weirdos who were like in the fitness, and it because it was rare, and I was like, this is very like different than what I expected, and seeing a lot of the patterns, and I think the Air Force is kind of getting after it now. They're trying to instill more like health initiatives because they're finally trying to understand like, all right, human performance is a thing. We need people healthy and fit. Like, yeah, you know, welcome to 2024. But so at first it was a culture shock, and you know, the alcohol piece too was really big in the military, especially I come from the aviation community where literally like in our squadrons, like, so where we go to work every day, there's bars in the squadron. So you will come out of your office or you'll come in from the flight line from doing a flight, and it's common. Everyone just goes to the bar and they drink, you know, Monday through Friday. And for me, that was kind of another big thing too, because, you know, in college we drank, but even towards the end, like, it wasn't something that we did a lot. Like, because you learn quickly with alcohol, if you're trying to somewhat have any type of performance or, working out, like you quickly learn that it just doesn't jive.
And especially Charles, started ROTC sophomore year. So I think freshman year, of course, most people freshman year was freshman year, and then sophomore year is kind of when we realized that this just doesn't work with trying to finish school and trying to finish, waking up early for ROTC for Charles. And so that's kind of when we would do it here or there. It's not like we didn't drink, but it wasn't as common and often as freshman year.
So yeah, even kind of at that younger age, we kind of started realizing, again, and I'm not like, for people out there like who drink in like, yes, in moderation, I think all things are fine. We just personally found it wasn't fit with our lifestyle. So kind of like fast forward again, kind of going through, we're kind of going through our different assignments and stuff, and you just kind of like, you start feeling like an outcast, like when you don't really drink, and people always, alcohol is like the one thing that if you don't use it, people look at you kind of weird.
People always ask, like, are you in recovery? Or like, are you pregnant?
Like
and it's like, no.
Or they'll ask if it's like a religious thing, and I'm just like, I just don't want to drink, man.
Yeah, like, does there have to be a reason?
Why? And then, like, poor Charles, like, you got the fitness, like, you look fit, and you're all into fitness, and then you don't drink, so it's like...
Yeah, so, like, you feel like an outcast, and, I know there's a lot of different communities within the military, so, like, I'm painting with a broad stroke, but at least the one that I came from, there was kind of few and far between, like, relatively the kind of same type of people. So we, and this is one thing, like, we've always stood by our, I guess, like, values when it comes to like living healthy and fitness. So regardless of like what people say or the environment, you gotta stick to like what works for you. At the end of the day, I mean, you gotta think about your health and your longevity, and also use that as an opportunity to kind of tell people. So even though, I would get ribbed and kind of joked a lot, I always kind of use that as a chance to be like, well, like, this is why I eat the way I do, because, have you tried eating good for a week and see how you feel?
Right.
Like, maybe eating what you're doing right now, a lot of the things that you're saying, you have ailments for, poor sleep, you don't have the energy to go work out. Well, maybe if you tweak your diet, those things wouldn't be there, so always tries to use that as like an educational opportunity also.
Yeah, so we, weren't into drinking much, and so Charles was always still wanting to find that social lubrication and find that thing. So that's when he found Kava and, did lots of research on that. And Charles is the one who found out about the Kava and did all his research and tried things, and then he was just basically like, told me about it and was like, drink it, let's do this. And so I'll let Charles kind of explain it, but basically we found Kava, and that became just like our lifestyle, and that really fit well with us, helping us relax and giving us that social lubrication and giving us that thing that we could drink like everyone else, but it wasn't alcohol. And it still helped us recover and helped us be able to wake up the next day with the kids and go to the gym and still prioritize our health and wellness, but still feel good and have fun in our own way.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's so cool to hear how y'all met in childhood and how you guys still change and evolve throughout each stage of life. I mean, it's beautiful. And then how you're able to maintain that lifestyle choice through every avenue. So since we're on that, how do you guys balance it all? I mean, you're balancing your own personal lives, professions, military, kids, and then also trying to have that lifestyle, that healthy lifestyle. How do you all balance?
Yeah, I definitely think, and this is something that we kind of talk about on our podcast as well, is like surrounding yourself with people who have similar lifestyles. And that's something that it hasn't taken us a while. I think early on we realized like this is a priority for us, and so we're not going to compromise what's important to us to fit other people's needs. And so I think that's a huge thing, is we just, we have a set bedtime. We're in bed by 8:15, and we're up by
wow.
yeah.
Even your kids?
Our kids are in bed by 7, and then
What are they doing? Because mine, it's the funniest thing because like last night I was like, okay, we got to get to bed. And it was well before, like it was 6. And my kid's like, my 5-year-old, he's like, Mom, it's not even 9 yet. I'm like, what?
But ours also,
Yeah,
our
we're
girls,
early risers
so
too.
like, yeah, Charles and I wake up at 4 a.m. and our girls wake up at like 5:30 a.m. And so it works for us. They stopped taking naps around 3 o'clock. And they didn't always go to bed that early I'm sorry, not 3 o'clock. At 3 years old, they stopped taking naps, and that's kind of when it flipped for them, where they would just be so exhausted come like 6 o'clock that they, when they were really young, had like a 6 o'clock bedtime. So it just happened to work out for us that they need a lot of sleep, and they get grumpy too. Like if they're up too late, they're grumpy, and so for now, that's their bedtime. I'm obviously as they get older, it'll get later. But yeah, so for us, that's our bedtime, and we, people will ask us out, and, unfortunately, like, if it's too late, we're, have to make it a little bit earlier. So for us, it's just like, finding those boundaries and not feeling, like, people always feel like they're going to hurt people's feelings, and they prioritize other people's feelings instead of their health and wellness, and we prioritize our health and wellness instead.
It's
Yeah,
not
that's so true.
that, like, you can't make room for
Right.
things here and there because, every once in a while, like, yes, if you have to trade your 8 hours of sleep for 5-6 hours, but that's like a really, let's say if it's like a wedding that you're going to or something like
Right.
that, like, that's going to add to your overall, like, I kind of look at like your, like, health as like a piece of, like a pie, right? And you have all these little factors that go into it. And it's like, yeah, your sleep might not be perfect, but also you need social, you need family, you need fun. So like maybe you're meeting that piece. Like, yeah, you're taking away from your sleep block, but maybe it's worth it for a night or two.
Right.
So it's not to say that like you can't, break it every now and then, but I think what Heidi was saying, like setting boundaries is huge. And that's just going back to kind of what she was saying also about, who you surround yourself with. I think sometimes people kind of see that as a negative thing because they might see it as like, oh, you're cutting people out of your life or friends. And potentially, right? And potentially that might, for some people, it might work, for people like in recovery around, certain groups where they know it's a bad influence. Yeah, you have to sometimes do that. But it could also be as simple as like, if you're constantly surrounding yourself with people who, say eat bad, they don't exercise, they're not trying to achieve anything, there's going to be a point where you sort of have that osmosis with them, right? And you're kind of taking a lot of their traits from them and habits, versus if you surround yourself with people with, people who are getting up early, going to the gym, they're, eating healthy, they're making good habits, they're making good changes, they're trying to progress, in their careers or their jobs. They're not settling, right? They're always trying to get, like, what else can I do? What else can I provide? I think you're going to find your life looking different in 3 years versus if you stay around those people who might be good people, right? They might, there might be nothing wrong with them, but like, I don't know. You gotta, at some point, you gotta understand, like, hey, how's your environment affecting you?
Yeah, and I do think that, and I think that's something that people don't think about a lot. And again, you don't have to hurt people's feelings. It's just, I think people have a hard time, especially when they're people they've been friends with for their whole life. It's, people grow and people change, and that's good. That's normal. And I feel like people have a hard time accepting that, things aren't like they were 10, 20 years ago, but that's okay. That's normal. So I think for us, it was, we've just easily been able to, as life changes, adjust like the people we hang out with in our lifestyle and, what we do to be able to fit, prioritizing those things still.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that because it's the average of like 5 people that you're around that you're more than likely to
Right,
influence
yeah.
the other. So no, it makes sense too. And if that's the path that you're on, it's always about filling your cup up as well and making it feasible for the rest of your surroundings and your tribe.
Yeah,
I would say.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a little bit about before we get back into fitness, talking about the military. So I know there's a big issue in the military, and I love that, Charles, you talk about it being a man in the military and bringing forth mental health, but what not only just mental health, but then reversing certain things or alleviating the mental illness, as well as adjusting lifestyle with the better modifiable lifestyle factors, along with possibly using like plant-based medicine, right? There's sometimes equivalent to antidepressants, specifically SSRIs. So those are the common meds that are first line defense, but there's always another way to target it. Not only just the lifestyle, but how you address the mental illness and everything that goes in the military. So could you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, no, and I would love to, and it's something that kind of like, I think I think a lot of veterans kind of now, like it kind of hits a little closer to home, just because I think right now, based on the timeline, we're starting to see a lot of the ramifications, kind of the past 20 years, whether that's, hearing unfortunately about, someone within the community or other communities, all the, we went like full steam for 20 years, and regardless of beliefs on the conflicts that we just got out of, at the end of the day, military members, you're told to go do whatever it is, and it is what it is, right? Everyone kind of signed the dotted line, so it's whether you agree with it or not, like you're going to go do it, and that kind of has somewhat stopped now. There's obviously always still conflicts going on, but a lot of the mass movements for the past 20 years and kind of the hot and heaviness has kind of slowed down a bit. So we're seeing a lot of kind of the OIF, OEF, all those veterans kind of now, coming out, separating, retiring. And I think we're starting to kind of just now see a lot of ramifications kind of this past tempo. And what I do think is cool is plant medicines are really popular right now they're starting to become more popular among the veteran community, specifically more with like the psilocybin kind of treatments and, ayahuasca and stuff like that. Hearing a lot of like really good stories about the treatment of like PTSD with that. I think with active duty right now, and I'll speak from kind of my perspective as still being active duty, I think it's more acceptable now to talk about mental health, right? Like it's not, I don't think as hush-hush as it was years ago, but there's still ramifications, right? Talking about it or going to mental health. Could affect people's, security clearances, could affect people's, ability to fly, to carry a weapon. So there are still potentially career ramifications with that for active duty military members. And I think that's something that a lot of civilians might not know is, sometimes as a civilian, it's a lot easier to go to a mental health provider because you can do telemed, all this kind of stuff. With the military, you have to always go through your military provider. I mean, you're supposed to. That way everything's documented, right? And depending on the mental health issues, that could go to your commander, which is kind of like the equivalent of like your boss, right? Which could then start having career ramifications. So I think it's getting more accessible now to go to mental health, to talk about within the communities. There still is somewhat of a stigma, I think, especially among certain communities who have more ramifications with their career, right? Who still might be afraid to go talk to someone with mental health. But what I see a lot of is the lifestyle habits, and that's what kind of, I don't want to say like irks me, but you see a lot of really bad habits and people just being not the smartest with how they're treating their bodies. With what some things are sometimes you would think would be common sense, right? Get sunlight, eat a healthy diet, move your body, practice some type of mindfulness, whether that's with whatever religion or faith of your choice, right? No judgment on what it is. And, or if you're not, have a faith, if you're atheist or whatnot, cool, but still have something that will help ground you, right? To kind of bring you back to like something bigger than yourself, whatever that might be.
I just want to say how much I appreciate that coming from a male in such, in a military role, right? Like that's amazing. Like coming from a mom like Heidi or like a female like me, that's like a given. But to say that and how impactful that is, it's amazing, and it needs to be brought to awareness more commonly. And there are so many more men that are coming towards that. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because like there's a lot of things you see and it's like, dude, if you just like, come on, man, get outside, go exercise, a lot of these things.
Well, and even just you at work, I feel like the amount of just the food people eat,
Yep.
they go around and it's like, it's lunchtime, let's go to the 5 food trucks that are on base. And it's like, what? Like how, and to me, I just think that's when people eat like fast food in the middle of the day, like how does that not just drain you for the rest of the day? Like no wonder you're fatigued, no wonder you're grumpy, no wonder you're feeling like you can't get work done. I don't know.
And we, it's again, like I'm trying to come from like a non-judging, trying to sound as non-judgmental as possible, but there's still things you see, and I'm not saying that people might not have to go to mental health, or I think eventually there might, depending on the situation. Yes, there's always potentially a need for a doctor to kind of get you to the next step, right? Whether it be pharmaceuticals or whatnot. Like, I'm not going to say that they don't have their place, right? But at the end of the day, and Heidi could speak to a lot of clients that she's worked with, and even just with people with Kava and Kettlebells, anecdotally, we've had hundreds of people reach out to us just through social media, email the podcast, just by saying, hey, you know what? Like, dude, this is awesome. Like we found our podcast. We've, gotten off of this stuff, or, before we found the podcast, we started changing our diet. We've exercising, we've started using kava, right? Instead of alcohol, and they feel a million times better. And a lot of anecdotal stories. And again, I'm not writing, studies, double-blind studies, but so many experiences of people saying, hey, like we've gotten off of pharmaceuticals and alcohol, right? And some people too, like even, I'm not saying like, I don't think cannabis is a drug, but some people have lowered their cannabis habits with kava, right? To be more present, because it does, in my opinion, kava allows you to be more present than cannabis does.
Yeah, and I think going back to like your question about SSRIs and stuff, it's not to say that they're bad. I do think there's a time and place for them, but I do think that it's the first step when there's so many steps that could be taken before that. And kind of what Charles was saying, like I work with clients who they're like, I've been on antidepressants for years and it hasn't really done anything. And then I start consistently working out with you for a month and changing my eating habits for just a couple of weeks, and I'm already able to, with my doctor, lower, the amount that I'm taking and slowly start to, wean myself off. And I think that's amazing. And I feel like a lot of people just truly don't understand that there are other options, and especially like with military, I'm surprised that it's not pushed more like that. You guys aren't taught that more, that this is what you should be doing to be in tip-top shape, to be ready to go, to not have to be on things like that, because a lot of times they can't. There's certain positions where they can't be on certain drugs, and so it surprises me that it isn't encouraged and pushed more to have more consistent fitness and to eat healthier and to sleep.
Yeah, I think,
Right? I mean, and it's really just the power of going back to what your body needs, the lifestyle approach. And it does. It's been shown, like you said, the people that you meet, and just seeing people actually take control of their life, small steps, and then seeing this change. And that's how you can utilize it. And people just need to be aware of it. Sometimes they just don't know what they don't know. And so to have y'all like guide them, that's pretty good too.
Yeah, and
That is
exactly. People don't know what they don't know. And that's why of course we could put our tinfoil hats on and conspiracies, but I feel like, I just feel like we are not made to want to feel empowered. Like as a society, like there's so much that we have control over as far as our health and our wellness and just our general well-being, but we're not made to think that. We aren't empowered to think that we have very much control over that, but we do. And so that's kind of, that's one reason too why we started Kava and Kettlebells is just to, really it was just because we would just sit at home and drink kava and talk about things, and we're like, let's just record this.
And you created a movement, and that's awesome. You guys are inspiring so many people across, like, all over.
It's
global.
And it's funny because like when we started it, we didn't think it would, like, and it's still very much is like, it's like it's kind of like a, I don't know, like a glorified hobby now, but it's like.
But yeah, like we don't monetize off our podcast. So it is, we both work full-time jobs. And so we genuinely do it just to inform people and help educate people and give a platform for, different kava bars and different people in the botanical industry, and just let people know of different alternatives, that there are different options to still live a healthier lifestyle, but, have fun and utilize botanicals to support their body in, different ways.
And
so speaking of kava then,
yeah,
let's talk about the uses, how y'all like to use it, and then of course with performance base and recovery, and of course mood, all that.
Yeah, and I do want to say, like, for those listening, like, even though the podcast has been like a hobby, like we just didn't expect it to kind of go where it started going. And once we started getting all the feedback, and then seeing how many I guess like people were listening to it and kind of where they're coming from, like it motivated us to be like, okay, like we're gonna keep this thing going and try to be consistent with it. Just because, again, like how you're saying, like everyone in the kava community knows what kava is and kratom and botanicals, but it's still so small.
Yeah.
So there's still so many people, like, today might be the first time they're trying kava, right? They've heard of alcohol their whole entire life, but it might be the first time they pick up a bag of kava off Amazon. So
Charles is much better at explaining what kava is, so I'll let him explain what it is, and then we'll kind of tell you how we utilize it.
Sure. So kava has been around for a while, and I think that's something I want people to realize too, that here in the United States it might be kind of newer, and the kava bar scene is definitely newer. It's growing, but kava comes from the Polynesian islands, Pacific islands, where it's been used for centuries. Traditionally, it's a plant, right? It's a plant that can grow pretty high up, right? 6-7 feet tall, sometimes a little bit taller. It takes a long time to grow this plant. That's one thing too. Kind of education piece is, the United States, we're used to a lot of crops in kind of our yearly crop cycle, right? And we have certain crops at a certain time of the year. Well, kava and how it's cultivated out in the islands, it can be years before that kava plant can be utilized. So,
like a good kava plant to be able to actually use takes 3 to 8 years to get to a point where it's ready to harvest and to actually use. And so a lot can happen in that time as well. So definitely something important for people to understand when using the plant is it's not a quick plant that you can just kind of grow in your backyard. It takes a long time to really make it a good product as well.
And so traditionally what it was used for is, again, so that plant is grown, and then you pull that plant, you take the root, and that root you grind up, and traditionally it was ground up right, and it was strained with water, and then makes this kind of muddy looking drink. and they would use it specifically amongst kind of like the kind of leaders within the community before kind of sitting down with each other and having like discussions. They would drink kava to kind of like bring it down a bit, right? To kind of settle the nerves, kind of open each other up. Because what kava does is it's very, very relaxing. It hits your GABA receptors in your brain. So kind of like, you know, like taking GABA would, or even how alcohol does affect your GABA receptors. So it, you know, reduces feelings of anxiety, helps you relax, makes you feel good. Now, kind of fast forward to where in the United States now, kava has become a lot more popular as an alcohol replacement. So we're seeing much more kava bars come up. And kava bars are a place where you can go and you can drink kava, right? Now you can drink kava as the traditional way. So just again, taking that root, grinding it up, mixing it with water. And again, that's called just like a medium grind. You make, which is called like a traditional shell typically. And that's just drinking, you know, the root straight up with the water. Now kava bars here in the United States are also making a lot of mocktails now. So that's like taking kava extract, making it into like, you know, kind of like a cool drink. Kava bars are also selling kratom now. Kratom's from more Southeast Asia. It's kind of more of a plant that's used for pain relief, energy. But kava, and kind of why people are using it now in the United States, again, it's kind of more for the alcohol replacement, social lubricant, makes you feel good, helps you sleep. A lot of benefits to it.
Yeah, so we use it, again, we just use it at the end of the day to kind of wind down. And what's great about kava is you'll hear it referred to as an alcohol replacement, and so people assume that they are going to feel like they feel on alcohol, but it's very different. You have that social lubrication, you have that relaxation. It helps you kind of, there's different ones that are more sleepy, there's different ones. It's kind of like marijuana in the sense you have like your indica and your sativa. You have some that are going to be more euphoric, some that are going to be more sleepy. But in general, you still have your mind. Like when you're drinking alcohol or you're smoking marijuana, you are not in the same mindset. And that's not how kava is. So kava relaxes you, but you're still very much present. I actually think it helps sort of ground you and make you more present and aware of what you're doing, which I know sounds weird, but if you drink it, like, you would understand. Yeah. So we drink it, you know, not every night, but especially on the weekends. And we love it because, especially having little kids, we're able to still drink this and still be present with our kids. We feel like it helps us be more present with them. It helps us not get as annoyed or agitated with them.
Being a parent, definitely you have to manage your emotions and expectations, so definitely agree, kava helps.
Kava does help that threshold of tolerance, right?
Yes.
Go up a little bit.
You can have a conversation on, if you're a parent, you'll get this. Like, you can have a conversation on your kids' level about what they're interested in, and you're okay with that, and you're interested, and you're just like all about it, which sometimes without having that kava can be a challenge.
Right, and that's another point, right? Like, you have so many things running around in your adult mind that you want to be present with your child. It's like their gift.
Yeah.
You want to be there. And no, I agree with that. Like, kava will help you be present in that sense.
Yes,
does.
absolutely. And yeah, you can go.
I was gonna say, it's one great thing about this plant is, you know, I know like cannabis is getting like really popular now because obviously the states, more and more states are, you know, regulating it to where it's, you know, adult use, right? And you have to have a medical marijuana card. But something to kind of like counter that, right, with kava, and kind of always tell people about kava is, again, like if you're a parent or if you're, you know, you want to have kind of more of your wits about you, kava is a great thing because it's going to make you feel good, but you're still going to like have like your wits about you and like your judgment making. You're just going to be in a better spot. And kind of like what Heidi said, it's very grounding. So like if you're around people, it opens you up in a lot of ways.
It does. It really does.
I think it's a kind of cool way. And for those out there who are really into fitness, right? So we'll talk about that aspect a little bit. So kava, the way it is, right? If you just have it traditionally, just traditional kava, straight with water, You're not taking calories in. You're not taking sugar in. It really has no macronutrients to it. It's not going to affect your metabolism. So like alcohol, when you drink alcohol, you stop metabolizing there for a little bit, right? It's going to affect a lot of things, your hormones. Kava doesn't do that. It's the majority of Kava strains cultivars are going to help you sleep. Some of them you might not want to drink close to bedtime because they can be a little bit more racy and kind of keep you up a little bit. But again, the majority of them are going to help you sleep. For recovery, it's excellent. Kava helps soothe, like if you have sore muscles, aches and pains. There's a bit of pain relief property to Kava, so it helps you kind of relax, helps bring down that cortisol, kind of after working out. So if you want post-workout Kava, I do that quite a bit, especially if I'm working out later in the day. Before I have a post-workout meal, sometimes I have a shell of Kava, just kind of help bring me down a little bit, right? Kind of soothes, like, because I do caffeine before I work out. I'm still like,
then you have to bring that down.
Yeah.
you gotta have something to bring you down afterwards, right?
Yeah, so the Kava is really great for like post-workout, and you kind of mentioned before, there's so much going on in life, and when I started, so I'm a coach online, and I work full-time, so I'm behind the computer talking to clients all day. And when I first started working, my mind would be going crazy. Like at the end of the day, it was really hard for me to fall asleep because I would literally be like programming workouts in my head and like having conversations with my clients. And and so Kava was really great at, being more intentional, especially when I first started the job, at drinking Kava more regularly to just help my brain just stop and slow down and stop thinking about the million things I have going on and just be focused on, my family at the end of the night and just easing into sleep. And it's been huge for that, to just help with that. Again, sleep is so big. I feel like people people really don't prioritize sleep enough, and just really helping me make sure that I was getting, a good night's sleep.
Yeah. No, I love that. You guys balance it out in so many different ways and the uses of it. So we are almost getting close to time. We're definitely going to need a second one. Like, we haven't even touched all the topics. But I guess as we leave, of course, food is medicine, lifestyle is medicine, but there's always supplements, right? Like, you can always add some supplements or, pre-workout, post-workout, whatever the case is. So, Heidi and Charles, tell me what your favorite go-to supplements are right now.
Yeah, so Charles, I'll go first, and then Charles, I always laugh because Charles, if you have any questions on supplements, he just loves trying different things, which I think is great, just to,
we're supplement junkies.
Him more than me, but for sure. So I just use basic pre-workout, although every time I find a good one that I really like, because I don't like a ton of caffeine, 150 milligrams is about my max, and then I find a good pre-workout and then they stop making it. So I just had to find a new one. Charles always just throws ingredients together and kind of makes his own. Are you
big on aminos and the protein? We know we're big on protein, but do you focus on certain aminos?
So, as far as aminos, I like glycine for sleep. Then I like L-carnitine. L-carnitine is probably one of my favorite overall supplements.
Do you feel like that's the one that really helps you change body composition?
So, high dose L-carnitine, and there's different forms of L-carnitine. Some are better for nootropic. Some are better for fat loss. I will say the bioavailability of carnitine is not the best. So there's you can inject L-carnitine, you can take higher doses of it orally, right? But I like carnitine specifically kind of for fat loss. It really helps keep I notice taking consistently high doses keeps body fat at a good spot, noticeably. So.
I think, so then I use creatine as well. So creatine is something that I think is, because a lot of supplements, they can help you, but a lot of supplements, they have a marginal effect. And I definitely think the fitness industry has made, even protein powder, people feel is gonna like give them muscles. It's like, no, beef is gonna do you better, but just protein in general is good. But creatine is the one supplement that I do think has a ton of benefits, both physically and neurotropically as well.
Yeah, you're consistent with creatine.
Yeah, so I'm pretty consistent with creatine, and I noticed a huge difference in that body composition wise, and then with my mind as well, like when I don't take it. So for me, I just do like pre-workout creatine. I do ashwagandha, and I'll like cycle on and off of that. We do beef liver as well. We don't really do like a set multivitamin, although after talking to you, we're thinking of looking more into that.
But no, I love that you added the ashwagandha, especially like being a woman, right? That's so important to like balance out our hormones.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They don't fluctuate as much, right?
And I've noticed a huge difference with the ashwagandha. And I could ask you like what you would recommend, because I've heard that it's not good to take it consistently for a long time, so I'll do like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. But when I notice a huge difference, for sure.
True.
Yeah.
Then I think another thing that we take too I'm trying to think of like our pretty much like our Amazon subscribe and save orders,
Yeah,
right?
that's a good one. We do like zinc and
so zinc and curcumin.
Yeah.
So we do the
curcumin,
C95.
yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah, curcumin gels. Do those. Creatine too for me. Creatine's a daily thing. Then like, with my pre-workout, I like to like buy ingredients in bulk, and I play a little scientist and I measure things out and do it myself. So I'm very picky on like I don't like a lot of pre-workouts because they have like sucralose in them and stuff like that. I try to stay away from. I don't like fillers, so I'll just make a lot of stuff myself.
Tasty.
I like caffeine. I really like yohimbine, which is it's a bark, but I like the extract of it. It's really good for focus, energy, fat loss. And then I like stuff for sleep, so magnesium. Magnesium's like the go-to. Glycine.
I do GABA for sleep.
Heidi does GABA.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, beef liver capsules just for kind of overall vitamins. Vitamin D, take kind of here and there. But yeah, I'd say that's kind of like our basics.
Yeah,
right?
and fiber. We'll do like
fiber. Yeah.
We always say like, oh, we don't take a lot, and then we list out. I'm like, what are we trying to do?
Yeah, and there's still like more things like you can round off.
Vitamin D here or there. So yeah.
Well, this has been so much fun. We definitely need a part 2 on both of ours.
We would love that. That would be so good. We have so much fun talking to you. Such great conversation. So thank you so much.
Yeah, we
I
appreciate
enjoyed it. Thank you so much for your energy. And for your listeners out there, of course, give Kava Kettlebells, Heidi and Charles a follow, a listen. All their information is in the description below. So I hope you'll have a great rest of your day, and hopefully talk to y'all soon.
Yes, thank you so much. You as well.
Sounds good. Thank
Bye.
you.
If you enjoyed today's show, share with your friends and family, and of course, subscribe. Thank you so much for your support.